Well, yes, indeed. Welcome back. Well, Chivevo Sagukwe is also a member of the People's Democratic Party and a member of the board of FRC. And thank you for coming on this morning.
Thank you.
Well, taking a look at the way things are turning out, not many people are happy with the situation, ranging from the way political parties are conducting themselves to the way affairs of the country or the state are being run, and discontent here and there, even though, of course, you have people who say it's not all doom and gloom. But from what you've seen, and then the comments by former President Obasanjo about younger generation not living up to expectation, what do you think?
Well, let me start by addressing the issue of younger generations. I would say that the younger generation in Nigeria have also played their part. It has not been negative, you know, the way some people will want to paint the issue. Like the last discussant stated, all the achievements recorded in Nigeria were done by people in their 40s, in their 30s, and so on and so forth. Dr. Nnamdi Azikiwe, for instance, came back from the United States to lead the political emancipation and achieved independence for Nigeria at a very young age. They were all youths, Chief Obafemi Awolowo, Sir Ahmad Bello, and so on and so forth. So it is neither here nor there for anybody to talk about failure on the side of the younger generation.
What if you juxtapose that against the current crop of politicians who happen to be in that age bracket which you mentioned now, and the corruption attributed to some of those names which the former president mentioned?
Well, the former president also has his views because the former president is also suffering from military mentality, thinking that they are the people that must be on the seat for us to agree that everything is moving on fine. I expected the former president to praise Nigerians for whatever is going on right now, because this is the first time Nigeria has opened up the democratic space. Before, we were suffering from military mentality, where people thought you could, how do I put it, you could jacket the people. You could get the people to behave a certain way you want. But right now, for the first time in the history of this nation, we are beginning to talk freely. And even in talking freely, some people have overstepped bounds, insulting leaders, insulting people in authority, and you begin to wonder whether there are patrons again.
What's the difference between insults and criticisms in this case? Because
they hide under criticism to talk about. When, for instance, the national chairman of APC talks about president being a kindergarten, I mean, what kind of statement is that? A man of his age. When, for instance, the president, after wide consultation, declared a state of emergency to address a nagging national issue like the Boko Haram menace in the north, former head of state, General Buhari, came out to say it is a fight against the north. So how do you place such people? How do you address such issues? So the truth of the matter is that people, in trying to say it the way they want or to run people down, overstep their bound by saying things that are too unnecessary, that the things that could even ignite. Some of our leaders are worse than the Boko Haramists. The kind of things they say. They know that people follow them. They know that people get mentored by the way they do things. And they tend to talk in an unguarded sense, that people begin to think, okay, for instance, some people have this born to rule mentality. If it's not them, any other person has failed. It is not true.
So how does
We're making progress.
You know, how does it really work? Because you've had the opportunity of also being an information officer of a state then. So, you know, sometimes such comments come from people like yourself who would ordinarily give out information to the people. But such information, when they do come out, well, they kind of inflame the polity.
Throughout my years of service, I try to preach patriotism, love for nation. We must preserve our nation first, because right now we have created some fundamentalists in religions, even in the two religions. And what we have a duty right now to try to control how people think. General Buhari, for instance, most of his fans are these Boko Haram people.
How do we say that for sure?
Yes, the two states that have failed in Nigeria today is Borno and Yobe. They are APP states. Those are the places where Buhari has the bulk of his supporters.
Can we say
they are in Camel?
But you know, the residents there cannot be classified as there are very many residents there who are true citizens of Nigeria and would definitely
I want to tell you, it's on record. Look at the winning, the way he gets his votes. He gets his votes from people who are predominantly of a certain religion. And there are a lot of youths in that, from that religious divide, who actually see Buhari as a role model. Some of us have a lot of respect for him. But the way he comments on national issues, gets us embarrassed.
But don't you think that those who think that, or who also say that, politicians form most part of the problems in this country? Politicians across all the parties, the ruling parties, either the federal, states, or local government level.
The only party that is still functional today, that is not owned by somebody, that, for instance, the so-called APC they are talking about now, you have Bola Tinubu, the former governor of Lagos State, as the major stakeholder. You have General Buhari, who also brought his own populist views. They are desperately trying to match. Of course, they are completely two separate persons.
But that's a registered political party now.
Now we are watching to see how they are going to operate. It's just, for instance, let me give an instance. The former chairman of EFCC, Malam Nuhu Ribadu, was investigating Ahmed Bola Tinubu, the former governor of Lagos, and said all kinds of unprintable things about him. When suddenly Nuhu Ribadu was tricked into becoming a president, he changed his record. He now started praising Bola Tinubu, calling him his leader, and all kinds of funny things. So these are the kind of people you begin to, in a desperate bid to get to power.
But that's why champion is almost the same from both political parties.
No, it is not. In the PDP, which was formed since 1998, nobody could claim ownership, including the sitting president, who is the leader of the party. PDP is the only party that is spread across the nooks and crannies of this country. People own PDP. People talk about PDP. It's their business, is their property. Yeah, but now we are having another party that says it's not even a credible alternative to the PDP.
That's up to that. People will eventually determine that in the days or years ahead. But don't you think that if people are influential within their political parties and it's working for them and for the party, should anybody have any grounds?
This nation does not need parties that are owned by people.
I say owned by people.
Yeah, but it's true.
It's a
because today everybody knows that Bola Tinubu brings the funds, the finances, and General Buhari has the popularity. Okay, popularity in quote, because to me he doesn't appeal to me any longer. Yeah, he doesn't appear like the kind of leader we are talking about.
No, but that
he doesn't have democratic temper. I'm coming. He doesn't have democratic temper. He cannot. I don't see him leading this nation.
Some of the things,
for instance, I don't see him doing that because Nigerians will be disappointed. Many people are already disappointed.
Some of the things,
and the kind of comments he makes, he still appears like a general who overthrew a democratic government. That is how he still appears. He didn't change.
Some of the things that you have said, you have criticized your position for not being able to comport themselves properly, according to you, by the kind of comments that they make.
They have made.
But I can tell you that if they were watching this program, they would say you've done exactly the same thing by the kind of comments that you've made as well.
When you see love for nation, for instance, you don't see any American president, any American former president, criticizing a sitting president. I have tried to check, you don't see such things. There are certain comments Americans Because we are learning. The essence of being in a global village is you learn what others are doing. That is why we have changed our cultures. You know, some of them in those days we keep twins and all kinds of practices that were
You
funny.
call them presidents. You didn't say former heads of state. Because
no, in America, I'm referring to America. America, they have presidents.
Yes, I know.
So they don't. What I'm trying to say is that to some extent, some of our leaders should know that people look up to them. You don't just make a blanket statement. For instance, former President Obasanjo saying youths have failed. It is not true. Our youths won world championship in football. Many of our youths have delivered trophies.
No, he did
Many
not.
have done so many things.
I think we're not looking at it in the context that we're supposed to be looking at.
Leadership?
He was talking about leadership. And he was saying that if in 53 years Nigerians do not have one leader that they can hold up and celebrate, then maybe we're jinxed. And then he went on. I mean, I'm not trying to justify his statements, but I'm trying to bring it into context here. He's not said that youths generally have failed. He was looking at it within a particular context. So are you saying that, you know, the former president has absolutely no right as well to, you know, to air his views?
Like I said, these are people we take as our mentors. And when they make certain blanket statements, you have to put them in proper perspective. I don't believe that youths of Nigeria failed. It is not true. Go and check the records. Maybe you could say that some of our leaders failed. Not necessarily leaving the failure at the doorstep of youths. What do you want them to do? But they sought for education. Many of us got education. I went to university free. I am properly schooled. And today, I think I have also rendered service to the nation.
But some say that. Now, others who also have gone to university free and enjoyed the lot from the states are stifling the younger generation. They're not allowing them attain those potentials. Just like they did in their time, 30s, 40s, 50s, they were in leadership position. But today, political parties don't give the younger generation that opportunity to be on top there.
Most times I hear of youth groups, Nakian, Nans.
They use them for thuggery.
Yeah. No, it's not true. It's not true. I want to challenge the Nigerian youths to take up this challenge. Let us see a national youth summit where our youths will begin to think of ways to either take up political leadership, fend for themselves, and not hang on so much, because it would appear that in Nigeria everybody wants to get employment in government. This is not the rule anywhere in the world. It is the private sector. It's people who set up to also find ways to get employed.
Yeah, but it's one of the areas where your party has also been heavily criticized in terms, I mean, you've talked about a youth summit, but, you know, they say even within the party structure itself, oftentimes youths are not allowed, I mean, to come up. They're usually stifled and they're not given room to breathe.
Well, to some extent I have seen, because where you are trying to drive at is the 60-year-old man who become youth leader.
Well, right? That's an instance.
No, a lot of people criticized that matter, and I'm sure our party will have to correct it, because it gave some kind of signal that many people do not agree. But the truth of the matter is that youth leader is just somebody sitting in authority to organize the youths. It's not necessarily that you must bring. There's a state in Adamawa, in Taraba also, when Obasanjo visited, and they said Commissioner for Women Affairs was a man. You know, but you don't. There's no way you say Commissioner for Women Affairs must be a man, must be a woman. But somehow, through practice, we say a woman should be there because the woman understands what the needs of women are. You know, but also you notice that it is not the rule if you want to cast it on stone. So when they elected a 60-year-old man, some of us even within the party, because we criticized ourselves, we asked questions that this man should not be made the national youth leader of the party. But the matter was completely defended, because what we need there is somebody who will be in authority to oversee what the youths are doing. PDP has a very vibrant youth wing all over the states, because we have youth leader at the ward level, youth leader at the local government level, youth leader at the state level, and youth leader at the national level. So it's an aggregation of youths all over the place. And they are working well. You know, so what I'm trying to say is that, please, let everybody understand that it is not correct to totally say that youths have failed.
It becomes absolutely impossible.
All of you on this panel could be called youths. You are the champions of this nation.